What's going on, y'all? It's JD Pickell with On 3. Today on the Hard Count, we're going to talk about CJ Stroud taking the next step. Welcome into the Hard Count, the People's Show for every single thing that you know and that you love about college football. It happens here on a daily basis. Nick Brake does the heavy lifting. You can help drive the show by subscribing to the channel. We're not going to ask for anything more. It's free. It helps us. Party rules on. Ryan Day came out at Big Ten Media Day and introduced his players, and there's a couple of quotes that I want to touch on that told me a lot about CJ Stroud. Because for me, Ohio State has limitless potential. Look at the way they're built. On defense, so many playmakers. On offense, it's ridiculous. It's the Monstars. You got Jaxon Smith-Njigba, you got CJ Stroud, Trayvon Henderson. We're not going to get too far in the weeds with that. But all that's to say, Ohio State's going to be filthy. And the biggest variable to me is CJ Stroud taking that next step. And it's not to say he had a bad year last year. Dude was a Heisman finalist. Put up unbelievable numbers. There's nothing to knock about CJ Stroud last year on the field. However, there were times where I felt like he was still growing into the role of being the guy. It's one thing to be the quarterback. It's another thing to be the guy. And Ryan Day had a couple of, like I said, interesting quotes that told me some positive things about CJ Stroud's maturation process. The first thing to me was Ryan Day said that CJ Stroud this past offseason has had an edge to him. And that fires me up, man. Anytime you talk about somebody having an edge, I 9 times out of 10 will say that's a good thing, especially at quarterback. Because, like I said, going from the quarterback to the guy are different things. And I think having an edge is a part of being the guy. I want my quarterback to have some Ronnie Bass to him. Sunshine from Remember the Titans. If you've seen the movie, I'm not going to spoil it if you haven't, but it's a phenomenal movie. Go and check it out. There's a clip in that movie where the starting quarterback goes down. I say, Ronnie Bass, you're in. Ronnie Bass walks in the huddle. He says, what's going on, wimps? Seen a football before? Let's go. 1, that was cool. 2, he goes, hey, let him through. Talking about the defensive lineman that just hurt the starting quarterback. He says, let him through. I said, this guy's crazy. So anyway, they let him through, drops back to pass, throws a completion, and then just sideswipes the defensive lineman and hurts him. And so that's an edge, folks. That's the quarterback I want leading my team. I understand that Ronnie Bass hasn't played football in a really long time. That's the kind of quarterback I want leading my football team, the kind of guy that I'm going to follow, the kind of guy that if there's a fight breaking out, I want him on my team. That's the kind of leadership I want from CJ Stroud. And it sounds like we're expanding quite a bit here on the term edgy, but you could have used a lot of other words to describe your quarterback. And to use the word edgy, he has an edge to him this offseason, that's a really good thing. And that's the kind of guy that people are going to follow. So sticking in that same vein, Ryan Day also said he's got more credibility now as a leader. He said last year, you're still trying to figure out how to complete your first pass, win your first game, and just kind of walk before you can run. He said he's got credibility now. And that's a big deal because as a teammate or as a coworker or as a student, there is a difference between being told to follow somebody and then willingly following somebody and having buy-in. Those are very, very different things. And you get very different results from the latter. Okay? Think about it. Think about coaches that you've played for and decided, actually, you know what? I believe this guy. I'm in on this guy. He's shown me he can do what he says he's going to do. He's dependable. He's accountable. He's a guy that I want to follow. Having buy-in elevates everybody's game. And it's scary to think about this Ohio State team having their game elevated from a season ago. Again, going from the quarterback to being the guy, the key ingredient for Ohio State. And that buy-in that it sounds like Ryan Day is communicating that CJ Stroud has, it's paramount. Cannot be overstated. So that's a really, really good thing. In addition to that, talked about creating credibility. I think CJ Stroud's created some credibility with himself. What do I mean by that? There is a level of prove it to me that you have to do to yourself. You have to convince yourself that you can be the guy. And being able to do what he did a season ago and put up such great numbers and win so many big games and play the way he did in the Rose Bowl with no Garrett Wilson, with no Chris Olave, I think that created some credibility for CJ Stroud with himself. Because it's one thing to get everybody else to believe in you. It's a whole other deal to have someone look back in the mirror believing in you. That's a huge deal. And I think that's going to ultimately elevate his game even more. Because last year was his first year starting. I think he was still trying to prove it to himself. He's done that now. It's a great sign for Buckeye fans. The last thing that Ryan Day said about CJ Stroud was talking about him leading like a coach. Says he's got defensive guys coming over for dinner. He's having them over for whatever they're cooking up over there. That's a good sign too, folks, because when you start to take ownership of the team and not just the offense, again, that's when you become the guy. When you can talk to the defensive linemen across from you and say, hey, we're on the same team. Follow me. And there's a response from that that's positive. That's huge. That's what championship teams are made out of. That's what teams that go and run the gauntlet and play for the college football playoff are made out of. And so for CJ Stroud to have the awareness that that's the next step for him to take, that's another good sign. Because it's one thing to have ownership of your offense, and it sounds like he's done that. I mean, look at what they did a year ago. He's had ownership of this offense. He's been able to score points. He's checked that box. But to have belief from the whole team, to have everybody rally around him and have buy-in that way, really, really good thing. Really, really smart by CJ Stroud to know that that's what he has to do to take that next step. It's like when you're on the airplane and they say you have to secure your own oxygen mask before you can put somebody else's on. CJ Stroud has got his oxygen mask on tight. And the fact that he's now helping other people out, getting other people to go along with him, that's huge. So the leadership of CJ Stroud is crucial to him taking that next step. For Ohio State to take that next step and get to the top of the college football playoff. Future's bright in Columbus. CJ Stroud is a big reason why. That's it for us here on The Hard Count. Appreciate you tuning in. Subscribe to the channel. Follow me on Twitter at JD Pakel with every single thing we're doing here. Want you a part of it. We're going to keep the party rolling. We will see y'all next time. Hey y'all, thanks so much for watching. Subscribe to the channel here to make sure you don't miss an episode of The Hard Count. Also be sure to check out other videos on the On3 YouTube channel.